We worked at a marketing agency. This story started 6 years ago. I was 24 years old at the time. I was far away from home, working at my first job, and fell head over heels in love with the CEO of the company. He was about 40 years old, very creative and talented man, famous in his field. At that time, he often complained about the fact that there is money, but no happiness, traveled a lot, engaged in spiritual practices. He is a very nice young man. Many girls were in love with him. One even got a tattoo with his name. Another told me that she sent him her erotic photos, but he then quickly fired her. I was in love with him too, but with no hope of reciprocation. I had been severely overweight since my early youth, but at that time I somehow quickly and easily lost 30 pounds at once. Can you imagine? 30 kilograms. But my complexes never went away. We worked in a marketing agency. At that time, we had a lot of big clients, international companies, big brands. Many of them praised me. I won tenders from big brands a couple of times. I sometimes caught admiring glances of this director Vela. I saw that he talked to me more willingly than to other girls and constantly quotes some of our conversations in Instagram, but I put it all down to my outstanding literary talent. I wanted attention from him. But then I had an argument with my direct supervisor, and she decided to fire me. I cried and asked for help from Vel, but he spread his hands and said that there were no vacancies and that he was not omnipotent. I found myself on the street and didn't know what to do next. About a month later, Vel himself wrote to me and called me back. I was struck by his messages. He is a businessman, a very tough man, suddenly apologized, excused himself, and persuaded me to come back. I assured him that he had nothing to justify, and I would of course be happy to come back. The job I was assigned was a strange one. It was the company's own project, very creative work. Nobody controlled me. My salary was higher than the average for the company, but the tasks were much less than before, and nobody was interested in the results of my work. I had a suspicion that it was not about my outstanding literary talent, but that I was in this job as the chief's kept woman. Vel was smiling at me, eager to talk to me, giving me signs of attention. I was sure that love is not for me. I am impossible to love. Men are disgusted by me, only at work with difficulty tolerate. But right in front of me was a man who actively showed sympathy, so he is either mocking or possessed by some of his own demons, which have nothing to do with me. And I also had a suspicion that he wanted to get into my underpants, and he was not interested in my work at all. I felt terribly hurt and wanted to hurt him. I guess that's a weird response on my part. I didn't know what to believe. But I liked Vel. Maybe I even secretly loved him. Anyway, I convinced myself that Vel was just a kind man who took pity on a beggar and offered her a job, so I should try to work very hard to pay him back. In general, I never wanted to be someone's kept woman in my life. I wanted to work, set ambitious goals, and achieve them. I offered plans for the development of the project, but Vel got annoyed and accused me of wanting more money, and he already paid me a lot. At the same time, I communicated with him only on work topics. I didn't have personal conversations. I didn't look him in the eye. I didn't react to flirting. I was indifferent. But his eyes were warm, and I was interested in socializing with guys my own age. Vel sometimes accused me that my words could not be trusted, that in any situation I would deceive and betray. In my opinion at the time, it was completely irrational behavior, but I liked him more than tender and caring, although we did not reach intimacy. Anyway, at the end, we finally broke up, and I quit at some point. After that, I was smeared on the plinth in every possible way. I lost faith in my creative abilities and stopped enjoying creativity. Then my faith returned, but instead of interest and pleasure, only professionalism remained. I was also angry with Vel for a long time. This anger poisoned everything I did. It manifested itself in relations with other managers, ugly my texts, reflected on my mood. I didn't even think about Vel for years, but the anger never went away. Sexual interest from male acquaintances continues to offend me. I can only sleep with murky, strange men. So, apparently, I will die alone. I will not have 40 cats. I am not capable of mental intimacy even with a cat. Vel and I went out one more time, for years later. I was already working for a large corporation on a media project. For the project, we needed to interview an entrepreneur with specific experience, which Vel had. I gave the team his number and asked them not to mention me in any way. Communication went through his assistant. The guys did an interview. It was being prepared for publication. Vela's assistant first tried to talk us into other joint projects, but she politely refused. Then she threw a scandal, said that our project was too small for them to participate in it. In her descriptions, Vel looked like a fairy asshole, so I felt bad not only for us, but also for him. Besides, we were on a deadline, and she disrupted the work of several dozen people. I wrote to Vel myself, told him that I was in charge of the project, and sent him the correspondence. Everything could have been solved in chat, but Vel insisted on a phone conversation, said that he was ready to adjust and call at any time. I told my colleague about it, and she assumed that he wanted to persuade us to resume publication. I found this version very convincing, so I took a circular defense. In order not to look like a fool in love, I called the same colleague to the conversation. I did not turn on the camera. I decided to talk only about business. At first, Vel was confused by the presence of my colleague, but then he started to say that he was very happy that I worked in such a cool place, tried to find out how I felt about him. I wrinkled my nose and offered to cut to the chase. Eventually, Vel started talking very coldly, then said that the assistant was his best employee. He trusted her judgment, and if she said that publishing it would hurt his reputation, it would. I asked him if he would mind if we blacklisted his company forever. He didn't mind. I had a brain explosion, but I figured he was only there to defend his employees' honor and resented the framing. And I thought that for another 2 years. I wanted to feel him up close, but he wouldn't make a move on me. I learned to treat this crap that whispers that I'll never succeed in whatever I do as a separate entity from me that occasionally takes over. Then the thought popped into my head that at that meeting with Velo, there were 2 sides to the setup, and my joint was the first. And actually, there was some rationality in Vel's irrational behavior. I think I understood what he wanted to know and what he found out in the end. I also had a sudden urge to write to him, but I had no reason to. I can't write to him to tell him that I loved you 6 years ago and still see you in every man I meet. Please subscribe to the channel. There are many more interesting stories to come. Thank you.